Ciao loves, this is Gemma with Drawing Down the Stars, and this is the connection of Spica, her achronal rising or evening rise, to the story of Ceres and Persephone. Now the achronal rising or the evening rise of Spica co-rises with the moon. That just means that the fixed star of Spica will rise after the sun sets on the east. Now, when this happens, it begins to kick off the great myth of Ceres looking for her daughter Persephone. Now, this myth, Greek myth, is cosmology. It tells us the ordering of our universe, and it tells us the qualities and the overarching nature. So we'll break that down more precisely into some of the agriculture, the meaning behind the rites, and the key significant days, and how these stars start to determine what is occurring for life on Earth. So in this myth, Ceres, who is the goddess of the grain, is searching for her daughter Persephone, who represents fertility, cultivation, abundance. She gets captured by Hades. Now, the key aspect of this is in Ovid's Metamorphosis, it talks about her capture and her rape by the fountains. This is her descent through the water to the underworld. Her rape simply signifies primal energy and the changing or the transformation from virginity. So the change of the creative principle essentially through the spark. Now Persephone goes to the underworld, and in her descent to the underworld, she becomes transformed. She becomes the goddess of the underworld, the queen, the consort of hell. But even in Ovid's Metamorphosis, Jupiter speaks of Persephone's descent. It is more of a transformation, and a transformation into the shadow. She becomes the queen of the shadow, and it is said that it is through the underworld that she gains her power, or is through the unseen that the cultivation of what is to be the creative principle gets its force. So in Ovid, he says, to Ceres, I saw your Proserpine, or Persephone. She was sad indeed, but though her face was still, she was nevertheless a queen, the greatest one among the world of shadows, the powerful consort of the king of hell. Spica's descent marks the goddess's descent into the underworld. Now, when I say Spica's descent, what I really mean is her rising in the evening marks the goddess season of her being present in the evening. Now, this is a 7-day ritual that happens called Charialis, begins on the 12th lunar day through the 19th lunar day. The key aspect of this is midway through this lunar day is called Forticalia. Forticalia was a ritual, a very agricultural ritual. So I want you to think of this ritual as being the embodiment of the nature from the stars on the earth. And this ritual was a sacrifice of the pregnant cow to Tellus, or the goddess of earth. And what this represents is not only appeasing earth and the agricultural influences, but it was thought to actually signify the sacrifice of the seed to the underworld, the sacrifice of the child to the underworld, the separation. And so what happens here is during this season when Spica rises, there is turbulent rains with fluctuating heat. So it is said that the seed is jeopardized. In this position, we see a sense of protection of the seed within the soil. And we also begin to see that with the torches. So during the rituals of Charialis, they would light torches to burn the blight or to help prepare the purity for the coming harvest, because they were looking to protect the wheat, or the seeds of wheat. Spica represents the goddess of the grain or wheat, and this is why we have the connection to her myth of Ceres and Persephone. Now, this embodiment of the full moon on Forticalia connects again the sacrifice of the womb or the seed within the soil. Then we move through Charialis, and then from there we see a very, very particular connection to the chthonic rites, and it's incredible. So the chthonic rites just means rites to the underworld. Now remember, this is the mark of Spica moving into the underworld. In this position, she gains power. She transforms into the queen of the shadows. And then we see the passage. So what really is so important with these chthonic rites is on the 25th lunar day, after the ending of Cerealis, we have a rite and ritual that sacrifices a dog to honor Hecate. Hecate is commonly known as the goddess of magic, but she is really deeply, more occultly known as the goddess of the passageways, the key, the trifold, the next creative principle, or the shift and transition between the worlds. And after the 7 days of passage, where women on Cerealis during the 7 days in the evening, they would walk with torches in two hands. And Ovid again speaks of this. In Metamorphosis, he says, "Meanwhile, the mother, fearing, searches in vain for the maid through all the earth and sea. Never the coming of dewy-haired Aurora, Pallas, which represents the morning sun, nor Hesperus, which is Venus as an evening star, finds her resting. Lighting pine torches, with both hands at Etna's fires, she wanders unquiet through the bitter darkness, and when she kindly lights her dimmed at the stars, she still seeks her child from the rising of the sun till the sun is set." This simply says that Ceres looks for Persephone at night with two torches. These torches were again used to purify the fields, but also as a ritual to find her daughter, to light the way. It is through bitter darkness, so the evening when she cannot see her. Now the chthonic rites here really connect us to the underworld and the passage and the transition of transformation. Essentially, this time period transforms the celestial season of life on earth, the protection of the crops, the changing of the weather, such as the variance of rain versus heat, which could jeopardize the seed, but also to signify the passage between the transformation of the creative principle. And lastly, it is the connection to earth in which we transform that seed and its power that is also cultivated within self. So the abundance and the cultivation occurs within the individual from the unseen. This is where it gains its power, the creative principle, the queen of the shadows. And when Spica has a heliacal rise in 6 months, it is said then that she brings forth the abundance. I hope you enjoyed this quick synopsis of drawing down Spica with her co-rising in the moon. You can sign up for the newsletter for more information on myths and to keep up with drawing down the stars. Ciao, sweets.